Today I have Lent on my mind, and so I want to talk a little bit about our focus during Lent here at St. Philip the Deacon, and also mention a golf swing tip from Justin Rose. Stay tuned. Hello, friends. Pastor Tim Westermeyer here, Senior Pastor of St. Philip the Deacon in the western suburbs of Minneapolis. Good to be with you as always. It is snowing today in Minneapolis, so we're a ways out from the golf season in this part of the world. But I have golf on my mind, maybe in part because I've been watching the Netflix series Full Swing. I don't know if I've actually talked about golf ever in all of the episodes we've done here, but turns out that I love this sport. I was watching some of the tournament this past weekend, and because of the tournament and Full Swing, I also started watching some instructional videos because I, like every golfer in the world, am anticipating the start of the golf season with hope, trusting that maybe my game will improve. And so one of the instructional videos I watched was with very well-known English golfer Justin Rose. It's a short video. We might even link to it. And one of the points he makes is that the way something feels in the golf swing is not necessarily how it is really happening. There's the feel, and then there's the real. And I thought that was actually a very helpful insight, and in a weird way, it points us now to the new season we're about to enter in the church year, namely Lent. We're taping this just before Ash Wednesday. Ash Wednesday, February 22nd, is the start of the season of Lent. It's one of the reasons I'm wearing purple today in honor of that season. And during Lent here at St. Philip the Deacon this year, we're going to be focusing on an ancient prayer practice called the Examen. This is a journal you can get here at the church if you're interested. It's called the Daily Examen, EXAMEN Journal, a 30-day spiritual retreat. It's actually published by Grace Watch Media out of Winona, Minnesota. If you're not near here and you want to order it, you can find it online, I'm sure. But the Examen is, again, it's an ancient prayer practice. It was sort of developed or expanded on by Ignatius of Loyola, the founder of the Jesuit order. And we're going to talk throughout the season of Lent about sort of 5 moves in the Examen, which I will mention here. You can read a little bit more about this on our website at spdlc.org/Lent2023. So the 5 moves are: 1, pray for enlightenment; 2, give thanks; 3, examine your thoughts, words, and actions; 4, respond to God in prayer; 5, make resolutions for tomorrow. And the reason I started with the Justin Rose thing about feel versus real is that I can tell you about the Examen, and you can think, well, that sounds interesting, Tim. I'm sure it's very helpful, but that's a very different thing than actually doing it. And I've said this, I think, before when we've had episodes about prayer practices. It's one thing to hear about them or to be taught something about them. It's another thing to actually do the prayer practice in your own life. So my invitation to you, I'm not trying to add a burden. I'm not trying to add guilt or anything else. But my invitation to you this Lent is to try this prayer practice, not just listen to me talk about it, but to actually invest some time in doing this every day, every couple days. And the point of the practice, as the author of the introduction to this journal suggests, and I like this, is this. He says, the ultimate purpose of this prayerful, spirit-guided examination is to become more and more sensitive to God's presence and promptings within us, not only while we are praying the Examen, but all the time. And as we get better at recognizing God's presence throughout our days, it becomes easier to more lovingly respond to His many gifts in our thoughts, words, and actions. That's another way of saying something we've talked about here before. Many authors that I love, Frederick Buechner among them, talk about how his whole thought and work as a pastor and writer can be summarized by pay attention. God is all around you. Open your eyes, open your ears to God's presence. And the Examen is just one tool among many you can use to attempt to do that. So again, I lift that up to you. I think this episode is going to be coming out on Ash Wednesday. If you're near us, please join us for Ash Wednesday. We have services at noon, 5:30, and 7. The 7 o'clock will be live streamed. And then throughout the Wednesdays during Lent, that's all the Wednesdays in March this year, we'll be talking about the Examen in a little more specificity during our evening prayer services, Holden evening prayers. What we do, that's at 7 o'clock Central Time here in Plymouth. The one last thing I'll say about the season of Lent. Lent is not a time of year, and there's nothing wrong with this, that's typically associated with the word fun. It's a penitential season when we reflect on and make our way towards the cross. But there is an organization that does something that's kind of lighthearted and fun related to the season of Lent. It's called Lent Madness. I've talked about it in prior years. It sort of apes March Madness, the basketball tournament. And it takes 64 saints or people in the history of Christianity, whether they're technically saints or not, and it does a sort of bracket system, bring it down to the person who wins the golden halo at the end of the season. And it's kind of fun to follow along. You can find that. We'll provide a link, but it's run by an organization called Forward Movement by our friends at the Episcopal Church. So I would commend that to you as well this Lenten season. I looked through it briefly. J.S. Bach is in the running this year, as is a favorite author of mine, Dorothy Sayers, Chief Seattle, and a whole bunch of others. So check that out if you're interested in doing something a little more lighthearted during the season as well. So that's what I've got for you today. I hope this finds you well, and as always, be well, stay in touch, and God bless.